Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our session on the BAARN project, the Bay Area Arts Readiness Project, and our work with local arts agencies and building arts readiness networks in the Bay Area. Just quickly, I'll give an introduction. I'm Tom Clareson, Project Director for the BARN Project, and I am based in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And Molly?
Hello, I'm Molly Quinlan Hayes, Executive Director of NCAPER. We're the National Coalition for Arts Preparedness and Emergency Response, and I'm based in Atlanta.
Excellent. We have just a quick agenda today, and we're glad that you can join us through this recording. We're going to talk a little bit about the project goals and structure of BARN, some of the things that we've learned to date through our research via listening sessions and our survey, and then talk about some possibilities of works that we would like to do with local arts agency partners within the next couple of years during this grant. And we'll finally be able to sort of end our session with talking about next steps that we might want to take. So, just quickly, there are a number of organizations that have contributed to having us be able to set up the BARN project and have it active in the Bay Area. We are funded by the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, and the NCAPER, Molly's organization, runs the project administration. We have a number of resources from the Performing Arts Readiness Project, which I ran until the end of 2025. And one of the things that is on the NCAPER website is an array of sample disaster plans, webinar recordings, and a number of other resources that you can use. And then South Arts is our fiscal administrator for the project. So there are a number of groups working together as partners to bring the BARN project to the Bay Area. And Molly, I think we'll talk a bit about the design of our project.
Great, thank you, Tom. This slide just briefly gives you the overview of what we're trying to accomplish in this 3+ year project. The project design combines the concepts of readiness and networking as core resilience strategies. And we center both individual artists and artist-run organizations across disciplines. So although this is funded out of the Performing Arts program at the Hewlett Foundation, this project is very much intended for artists working in all genres. We also recognize that many artists and arts organizations everywhere, but particularly in the Bay Area, are often addressing overlapping crises, natural and human-caused disasters, as well as funding instability, planned and unplanned leadership transitions, loss of space, obviously climate change impacts, and gentrification. And while Tom and I have background in readiness and disaster preparedness and recovery, we recognize that we definitely need to be grounded in the local community. And so the project is guided by a local advisory committee of folks there in the Bay Area with long-term connections and roots to help make sure that this project is as relevant as possible. So we're hoping that the elements of the project that Tom and I will talk about today help to result in artists being better connected to their peers, to organizations and emergency resources, so that networking concept, that participants build practical preparedness in their daily working practices. We are not trying to layer on one more responsibility or work for folks. We are trying to work to integrate this thinking into everyday practice. We hope that arts organizations, funders, and networks will work collaboratively to develop shared policies and support systems. And finally, although this is based in the Bay Area, we both work nationally, and so we anticipate that the work and the learnings and the resources that are developed in BARN will become part of a growing body of regional knowledge in preparedness, response, and recovery that can then be shared and perhaps piloted and adopted in other communities.
Okay, thank you. What we're going to talk about today is first a little bit about some of the research and outreach work we've been doing, but also some new project elements. And starting very soon and continuing through the rest of the project will be a series of classes that we offer as webinars and are able to offer live as well. We are going to be talking particularly today about network building within the counties in the Bay Area region. And then we're going to be talking about grants, especially grants to individual artists that we're going to be able to make available and to arts organizations as well. So, we wanted to just give a quick look at our local advisory committee members. We have people from all over the Bay Area, as well as leaders in the Western United States that are working with us to help make sure we reach out to all types of arts organizations and reach across the Bay Area. So you may know many of these folks. And we're definitely indebted to them for their help in both launching the project and helping us to move forward. I wanted to talk a little bit about the listening sessions that we have done. In August of 2025 and in March of 26, we did some listening sessions where we talked about disaster topics on a county-wide basis in a number of areas. So in 25, we were in Contra Costa County, we were in Alameda County, and Santa Clara County. And then more recently, in March of 26, we were in Sonoma and Napa counties, Marin, and Santa Cruz. And this summer, in August, we will be in San Francisco, San Mateo, and Solano counties to do our final listening sessions of the project. So, a couple of findings that we had, some listening session trends about disaster experiences. We talk about a variety of disasters that are out there, natural disasters, human-made disasters, everything from building problems to active shooters. We talk about some issues with technical disasters. And then finally, we've gone to talking about a lot of administrative disasters that are out there as well, like funding cuts and changes, succession planning, et cetera. And when we were in the field talking with folks, we heard people talking about flooding issues. We heard a couple of examples of doxing or other places where arts organizations or artists need online security assistance. Landlord issues for the buildings that people work from, medical issues, and considering insurance issues as well. Political situations, politically related violence and ICE raids are two of the things that we heard about in these listening sessions. And then certainly the emotional distress that a disaster might cause. When we were talking about recovery in our listening sessions, there were a number of assets and issues that people brought up. The assets that folks said needed protection were everything from paper and digital material, but also the equipment used to create these materials. So it could be everything from cameras to other artist equipment. And then certainly our most important assets are staff members, and keeping a succession plan in place is very important. So we came away from these sessions with some issues that folks said we should monitor and report back on. That includes working with funding and philanthropic resources, succession planning, as we mentioned above, building city and landlord support for arts organizations and artists. Disability issues, including non-physical disability issues, also need our attention. And people said, consider the economic issues caused by disasters. Some might be short term and there might be a quick turnaround, but what about some of the longer term situations that might result from funding cuts and other types of situations? So, with that in mind, we also did some other sort of field research activities, and I'll turn things over to Molly to talk about that. Oh, Molly, you are muted.
Sorry, thank you. Um, we are reporting today on the results of the survey through early 2026. So this is kind of a snapshot in time, but the life of this project, during the life of this project, this survey will keep open because we want to continue to get information. So we hope that you will share, not only take the survey yourself, but share it with artists and colleagues in your service region. But this snapshot of some of the results of the first wave of surveys include that people feel like they have some capacity and are doing well in terms of knowing what their emergency evacuation routes are out of their building. But many had not thought about what if I need to evacuate my neighborhood or my community. Folks felt fairly confident in their security practices and issues, and that they do have some emergency plan documents that they update regularly. Most of the people in our listening or in the survey reported, though, that they haven't actually tested those. They haven't had to use them in real life. Many of the individuals and organizations responding do have their important data and information backed up with passwords available to more than one person to make sure it's accessible. And their plans typically outline their emergency shutdown processes. So if they have notice of an emergency, they can shut down their organization's building or their studio safely. And many have considered that alternate staffing is necessary. However, and this is not surprising to us, cross-training is not always something that people are able to take the time to do in case the primary job holders is not available. We asked if plans include phone trees with emergency contact information. Many said yes. We did ask if accessibility needs are included in their plans and protocols. And again, many said yes, they are. Both individuals and organizations responding felt they had sufficient insurance coverage and that they update that regularly. And also, a number of them reported that they do have cash reserves and or multiple people have access to their online banking in an emergency. 2/3 of those responding said they did have crisis communications plans, which was great to hear. And most of them have and understand the force majeure clauses in their contracts and what their rights and risks are in major events and cancellations. And those who offer events, most of them reported that they did have ticket cancellation and refund policies published for their ticket buyers, and that they have a ticket system backup so that they're able to keep track of sales and customers. The main goal of these listening tours in part was to not only hear what people are doing, but what they need, and this project can help fill. People definitely need to do more fire drills and emergency training. Both organizations and artists said they haven't really, although they're aware of social and civil unrest, they haven't thought about what their response might be. We did hear that several of the organizations and individuals that do have plans do not ensure the plan does not ensure that someone is trained to keep their activities going. And many did not have someone else who could authorize expenditures or access accounts. So that is something that orientation and action is needed in. Individual artists asked for support in developing practices to document their space and inventory their contents. We also heard about insurance needs, so that'll be an area that this program addresses. We also asked about, do you have alternative spaces to show or present your work if it's needed? And many people had questions about how to go about that. And then we often see that artists in residence and touring artists are neither asking for nor automatically receiving safety and security orientations when they're in a new space. Then we ask some open-ended questions, just because we want to understand how people get information so that we can work through trusted and effective channels. Folks said to us that the most trusted resources that they would look to, both for preparedness information and for recovery assistance, would be people in their professional and personal circles, the organizations, and networks. When we asked for specifics on what kind of content they would like in their training sessions, We heard 21 different ideas, which was great. And we're responding to those. Some of the highest interest was again in this idea of evacuation plans, as well as standards for sheltering in place, how to effectively make sure all of our files are backed up securely, and a lot of requests for tangible resources such as one-sheeters, checklists, handbooks, and templates to make planning as efficient as possible. We asked what kind of language do they think would effectively communicate about this project. Clarity is very important, empowerment, and we definitely feel that preparedness work is something that gives people agency and empowers them. And also making sure that communications are accessible. And again, emergency planning, availability of resources, and evacuation safety were brought up time and again as issues that folks need to pay attention to and would like support with.
We wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the things that people asked us to offer, and we are planning to get and make available. So, really, we're going to be offering some classes and some resources on readiness plan development, where to start with a plan, and how to implement one. We want to share disaster plan samples that are out there that have been created through other projects and that people have said, yes, let people review these and look at these while they're building their plans. How to protect assets, collections, even instruments. We had a lot of musicians who answered our survey and were interested in that. Dealing with organizational closures or mergers was another topic that we're starting to hear about nationally and wanted to bring into some of the discussions here. And then development of mutual support networks is a really important part of what we're considering, what we're thinking about as we move forward. And also, what resources are there and what resources are needed to rebuild after a disaster. So I'm going to actually move over to talk about some things that we're going to be offering very soon that Molly has some information on.
Great. So we do anticipate a roster of free classes that are, again, both available live for discussion and Q&A, but also will be recorded on demand, and some of them will be delivered on site. We'll be kicking these off in June of 2026, and our first four will be holding about two a month in general, but we're going to start out with Artist Readiness Planning 101. What does this mean? What does it entail? And what does it provide you? And then Tom will be doing a risk assessment to look at your vulnerabilities in all areas of your operation. Then we'll be doing a webinar on the guided tour of an emergency, how one actually plays out, the phases, and how you can get support and do planning and be safer in all of those phases of an emergency. And finally, because it is so urgent and so came up so frequently, event preparedness, how to deal with active shooters and hostile activity at a venue. And then I won't read through the rest, but these will be put together by our expert faculty, everything from insurance and legal issues to archiving and legacy planning, crisis communications, health, safety, and security for artists, and introduction to festival safety, which we also will be doing some on-site work with festival producers and presenters in the Bay Area.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to really focus over the next couple of slides here on working with local arts agencies because we've seen that become so important in the discussions that we've had. So Molly will start us off and then I'll jump in with some more information in just a few minutes.
Great. So we certainly see local arts agencies, local arts councils as critical partners in this work because all disasters are local, meaning that all of the response needs to happen at the local level, at least to begin with. And we knew that going in, but we heard this very clearly in the listening tour sessions that a local arts agency is where folks look to for information, for support, for funding. That is kind of the catalyst in a community. So we would like to work together with you all for mutual support, not only to help us to connect BAARN's resources to your community, but as well to learn about your goals and resources in readiness and response, Whether or not that is something that is kind of in your portfolio now. If not, we would love to talk with you about what you might need. And if so, how might we help you to make that stronger? How BAARN can be helpful in supporting those. Again, we would love to add you to our distribution list for information on our classes, resources, and webinars. I'm going to toss it back to Tom to talk a little bit more in this recording today about the networks element of the BARN program and how local arts agencies might again be a catalyst for local networks.
Great, thank you. Yes, we think that there are a lot of possibilities here. And one of the things that we wanted to, that we said in our grant and we want to carry forward is developing a cohort of networks in the BARN region, starting with, three county-based or location-based networks, and hopefully develop networks in all 10 of the counties in this project by the end of our grant period. So, networking activities can include participating in BARN Train the Trainer and network leadership workshops. We can see that the networks serve as delivery mechanisms for Get Ready workshops and Get Ready grants for individual artists. Networks will receive participation stipends for doing this and receive guidance and facilitation to engage with local emergency managers and lead organizations in the network development will be eligible for capacity building grants for their own networks development and sustainability. So this is a large part of our program and something we want to make sure is built during our grant period. So, although we are doing this as a recording today, we definitely want to talk with you and get your ideas and questions about how your county, how your local arts agency, how your city might want to work with us on development of networks and utilizing some of the other BARN activities that are going to be available. And we have a couple of emails here. The first thing is our website. At the NCAPER website, there's a special page for BARN. And also, we have our local coordinator who has her email down here. And then you've got my email address as well. And we will make sure to address any questions that you come up with during your reviewing of the presentation and any questions you have in general about the BARN program. So thank you for taking time to look at our recording, and we look forward to being in touch with all of you soon.